What's happening, family? Dr. Joe here. I hope each of you are well and blessed. You see this individual, Kevin Samuels, on the 5th of May, YouTube star, relationship expert, Kevin Samuels suddenly passed away. I don't know what you felt about him. Many people loved him. Many people did not. But I'll say, regardless of that, this is not about those things, but may he rest in peace. Now, many people don't know what happened. And we know that there are many things that need to happen in order to discover that: autopsies, further investigation, etc. But I just want to use this as a time to challenge you in this particular transformational lab, because sudden death is something that can happen to any person. I want to present to you some things that perhaps you may consider as you're living your life. Because one thing we know about life is death is an appointment that all of us have to make. We all have to go one and someday. However, there are things we can do that can potentially prolong our lives. And that's why this is important. So what are things that we can know in order to perhaps ward off that appointment? Well, number one, we have to and we need to become lighter, leaner, and healthier as we become older. When you start to enter into your 40s, the likelihood of heart disease increases drastically. And the reason why is because all of the poor eating, the bad habits, fast foods, the diabetes, the hypertension, all of that stuff catches up with you in two places: in your heart and in your brain. The buildup of plaque not only impacts the heart, but the mind as well. Dementia is nothing more than plaque buildup on the brain. In many instances, it's considered type 3 diabetes. That means that when plaque builds up in the arteries, the body cannot function as it needs to. We don't have two hearts. We only have one. We don't have two brains. We only have one. If you're a person, you're heavy, and you're in your late 30s, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, if you're a person that's in that age, it is time for you to transform right now. You have to take your life by the horns and do something about it. Because when we creep into our 40s, that's when heart disease changes from becoming rare to fairly common. And the older you get, the more common it becomes. So that's one thing that we have to understand. As we get older, we need to become lighter. We need to become leaner. We need to become fitter. We need to become healthier. You have to take care of your heart. And the only way to do that is you have to transform in your day-to-day life and habits. Number two, you have to stress the heart on a regular basis. Now, there's something called a stress test. The stress test is when the doctors hook you up to machines, they put you on a treadmill, and they increase the capacity of not only the incline, but also the mileage or how fast it's moving. The doctors are trying to intentionally stress or place stress on the heart to see how the heart responds. One of the most common causes of SCA, sudden cardiac arrest, are arrhythmias. The body is not, the heart is not functioning properly. Sometimes it can be distortions in terms of how the heart is built that can create it. But the only way that we can, with intention, stress the heart is through exercise. One of the major characteristics of Americans is we're too lazy. We don't want to move. We don't want to work out. We don't want to sweat. We don't want to exercise. You have to work out. You have to move. You have to stress the heart. When the heart is under stress, it helps it to work with efficacy. The arteries, the vessels, the capillaries all dilate and will constrict themselves over and over again, becoming more elastic, becoming more pliable, becoming more flexible. So the more flexible my capillaries are, my veins, my arteries are, the less constricted and restricted they can be, which can, as a byproduct, ward off potential SCA, sudden cardiac arrest. The third thing that we need to understand in this transformation lab is you have to understand what puts you at risk. You have to understand what things you need to do to change. People who are diabetic have a higher chance of having a heart attack than individuals who've already had a heart attack. Diabetes is one of the worst diseases that you can have. It is a metabolic malfunction. It is something that if you have it, that the metabolic abilities of your body have become compromised. If you have diabetes, if you are pre-diabetic, you have to do what you need to do to make that change. For those of you who are in the 40-day turn up, that's what we do. That's all we do is reverse diabetes. It's lower hypertension. It's to help people specifically with those issues. But if you're watching this and you have diabetes, you have to reverse it. Do not listen to what doctors tell you that you cannot. Do not listen when they tell you you cannot. You can reverse diabetes through, lifestyle changes, through eating differently. All right. The second thing that you have to understand are certain scores or certain tests that you can get, like a calcium score. If Brother Samuels passed away of a heart attack, it is possible that had he had a calcium score test that everybody can get right now, which measures the amount of calcium in the body, the higher the number is, the more calcium that are in the arteries. It can detect if arteries are clogged. These are simple tests that you can get. And a lot of times we don't know about these tests because our doctors don't call for them. In life, you have to be your own doctor. And just because a doctor doesn't call for a test doesn't mean you don't need it. There are many tests that doctors will not call for because insurance companies persuade them not to keep costs down. That's a fact. A calcium score is something that everybody watching this, you can get it. If you have insurance, most times maybe it's covered. $100 deductible, $200 deductible. But even if you have to spend $500 and $600 to see, is my life at risk? This is something that every person needs to get. A calcium score and an EKG to discover if your heart is not beating properly. These are preventative measures that we can do. And had this brother had those tests, if that's the cause of his death, I'm not saying that it is, but these are things that all of us can do, all right, to increase our likelihood to have longer, healthier lives. Once again, may the brother rest in peace. But to those of us who remain, it's time for us to take our health seriously. You got one life. You got one purpose. You got one destiny. You have one shot to get it right. And we should not allow our tongues dig the grave that all of us will be at one day. We all got to go. But let's not allow our lifestyle to cause us to cut time on this planet for us to do what God has called us to do any shorter than what it already is. Until next time, be well, be blessed. Peace.